Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I am reviewing a Robert Oster ink, and that is this ink, Australis T. Now, I'm going to talk about the ink, show it on some different kinds of paper, show a couple of tests I did, and give my thoughts. Firstly, here is how the ink looks. Firstly, here on a colouring card, you can see some lovely light shading there. It's got some beautiful sort of yellowy tones in the lighter shading, and this is it on a Robert Oster swatch card. A little bit more uniform there. Nice sort of, well, I suppose tea green in terms of like the tea leaves. Kind of looks about right. So let's look at it on some paper. Here we have it on Tomoe River 68-gram paper. This is in a Bond Travel Gear notebook. Not made anymore, as I've said numerous times, but the paper we are familiar with. Robert Oster Colt Pens Australis T. Had it in two pens. No surprises here. The TWSBI Go Extra Fine and Broad. Nice ink. I'm going to start by saying that. Very nice ink. Let's talk about the 5 points. First is that it is Australian. The ink is made in Australia. Australian colours for the world to enjoy. Comes in 50ml bottle. An Australian brand. Get behind it. I certainly do. It is a limited edition ink, currently available from Colt Pens and a number of other retailers. Robert does these wonderful exclusives, really does interesting colour combinations and Australian earthy colours, and at the moment they are available from Colt Pens, and good on them from getting behind it. And it's part of a set of 4 inks in the Australis range. There's like a brownie colour, there's like a beautiful blue, and this one, and yeah, it's a lovely set of 4 of the Australis inks. I've said it's got a nice underlying lemon, and what I mean by that is like these greens here, these like nice yellowy greens, I find them really attractive. I'm not a huge yellowy green ink fan, but some of these are really nice, and when it's coupled with the shading from that darker green, I really enjoy it. The last thing I have said is that it's a reasonable price. Robert Oster inks, generally speaking, are well priced. For 50 mils of ink, around that sort of $17 US mark, it's really well priced. Okay, performance. It's got beautiful flow, this ink. It's not a super viscous ink, because it's not a sort of these super sheeny, highly saturated, high dye inks. It's just got lovely flow and some water resistance. There's a nice green left behind. If you look at the chromatography, this sort of greeny blue color at the bottom there, this, which is lovely, is what is sort of left behind. You can certainly keep all the detail. A lot of Robert Oster inks kind of disappear altogether. This one hangs around a bit. I enjoy that. It's got light shading, like in terms of color light. It does shade well. Robert Oster inks do shade well, and the lighter shades are light but easily readable. I've said this is a muted green with depth. It's not a bright, vibrant field green or apple green. It's got a nice, it's that sort of tea leaf kind of color. Definitely not the worst feather and bleed. I was actually kind of impressed with this, and I'll show it on a couple of different papers in just a second. And the extras, there's no shimmer on this ink. There might be some sheen, like it's kind of hard to, like you might get a tiny bit of like tiny bit of red occasionally, but not enough to say there's sheen on it, and there is some shade. Okay, let's look at it on some other paper. First things first, the performance on this Tomoe River. You can see nothing has come through. It's very nice. It holds beautifully tight, as you would expect on this paper. It performs well, and that carries across onto Rhodia. You can see the lines are nice and tight. Like, you can see it's fairly wet. You are getting a lot of that, even off that extra fine. This is coated paper, so it's not going to like absorb straight in, but we are getting a decent amount of sort of, decent dry time there, nice wet flow, but nothing is coming through, so it's performing quite well. And if we look at it now on some non-fountain pen friendly paper, starting here with the standard copy paper, you can actually see it holds not too badly. There's like there's no shade, there's not as much shading. The shading is a lot more minimal, but even still some wetness there. And in terms of bleeding, apart from where I put down large amounts of ink, it's actually performing fairly well on this very non-fountain pen friendly paper. And that carries once again into the even lower end paper. This is like student notepad from a lecture pad, and a lot of inks really go to town feathering on this, and this actually is not doing too badly. Bleed is not great, but in comparison to some other inks I've seen, not altogether the worst. Looking at the colour comparisons that we have here, this is the Robert Oster T, of course, and I've put Sailor Tokiwa Matsu. Just should say, the names written here are all written with the Robert Oster ink. It's just the swatches that are that other ink. So Sailor Tokiwa Matsu, a much darker foresty green, and then Monteverde Olivine, which is I thought this would be closer, like in my head, but it just shows how light this Robert Oster actually is in comparison to the Olivine, which isn't a super saturated ink either. Now let's talk about the price. As I said, it is a 50ml bottle, and it is a plastic bottle. It's a good bottle, environmentally friendly, well, as environmentally friendly as plastic can be, and it costs £13 for 50 mils of ink is not terribly bad. And now, lastly, the score. I've given this 4.5 out of 5. The performance of this ink is good. It's not super water resistant, but you are not going to lose all your writing. You could use this for art. You could use this for everyday journaling. You would keep something there. It's got good, solid performance, and it's a really interesting colour. It's light enough to be vibrant on the page and have personality, but it is still readable, and I think it has a really unique little color profile, and like that chromatography is just so beautiful. That little green line, permanent, well, not that green line holding down there, and then all that gorgeous yellow. It adds such a depth to this ink. I hope you found this video interesting and useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notifications button if you want to stay up to date with the videos that I produce. Please feel free to get in touch using any of the platforms listed below. You can contact me on Instagram or Twitter at @the_offstage_me, or you can contact me on any of my videos here, or drop me an email which is listed down below. If you've got products you think I should be looking at, or if there's a way you'd like to support the channel by sponsoring your review or providing an item for review, I would love to hear from you. In the meantime, enjoy your pens, enjoy your ink, and I'll talk to you soon.